Good morning. Up for the next tips? Well, here we go. I'm going to dive right in. If you haven't seen the other videos, check my channel. There's 2 other videos that I recently did on this particular topic. First one that I'm hitting today, we'll just see how far we get, is to fix stuff. So if you're trying to limit that budget and rein it in for inflation, then don't just automatically toss things that aren't that at least haven't been checked to see if they're fixable. Sometimes they're just not fixable. I've got 2 or 3 things out in my garage that I have to toss this week because I don't know how to fix them, and I don't think that it's feasible and realistic to do so. However, there very well may be things that you might otherwise toss that have some ability to get them fixed. So research things if you think that you have it within you, but I encourage you to try and learn because so much is out there on YouTube, and it's amazing for just being a resource to help you fix basic little things. I don't know how many times I've managed to fix a little odd gadget or appliance or something that we thought might be a goner, even including things like washers and dryers. There was once a few years ago I took apart my washing machine, same washer that I still have downstairs. That thing, we had it since somewhere around year 2000, I think actually a little bit before. But I took that thing apart once many years ago because it wasn't ejecting the water right. You know why? A bobby pin had gotten in there and gotten stuck in the pump motor, the little turbine part that would, work to eject that water. It couldn't spin. Removed the bobby pin, put everything back together, and it was fine. Still running down there. Now, grant you, I do think it's probably on its last few legs, but we will see. I'm trying to suck all the life I can out of that appliance. Anyway, try to fix things if you can, and don't automatically assume that you can't do it. I remember once, I hadn't been married maybe a year or so, and I had a problem with the heating element breaking on my dryer, and I'd asked my dad at the time, I said, "Do you think I can fix this?" He said, "I don't know if that's in your league. You might need to just plain call somebody for that one." And I almost took it as a challenge. It's like, no, I don't want to call anybody for that. I can do it. So, even then, the internet was out there with its resources. So I found a site, thankfully, that was for my exact model and had a step-by-step with pictures for this exact process. It wasn't a video. I far prefer video for these things now, but it had a good, perfect, laid out manual on how to change the heating element in your dryer, and I did it. And that kind of hooked me all those years ago to fixing things if you can. I've had refrigerators apart, stoves apart, you name it. But try to fix things if you can. It saves you a lot of money. But I realize sometimes, especially with some of the modern appliances, with motherboards and stuff in them, sometimes when those go, it costs just as much to replace that piece as it does just to go buy a used appliance. That was kind of the case with the dryer recently that I was telling you guys about. Even though it had overheated, I could have changed the cord, but I'm pretty sure its motherboard was fried, and it's just not worth trying to repair that. So a scrapper came and picked it up for me for free. And that's another tip. If you've got to get rid of one, call a scrapper. Many of them will absolutely come and take that off your hands instead of when you go and buy an appliance, having to pay somebody to haul it away for you. So anyway, try to fix things if you can. Next tip, sometimes tools are cheaper than the professional help. I know there are times absolutely you need professional help that you just don't skimp on that. Like here soon, we probably need some help from an electrician on rewiring the dryer problem that we have. I don't want to mess with the circuit breaker box. I feel like that's out of my league. We'll have our limits. But sometimes you can go and make a very big investment in tools and save a lot of money. Case in point, our front porch stairs. When we moved into this house, the stairs were freakishly huge. The rise on them at one point was like 13.5 inches for the step up. That's really hard to do, especially if you're an older person or if you're like me and you're overweight. Pulling yourself up a 13-inch rise for every step. And then to make it worse, the handle wasn't really in a good spot. It was kind of far over because they were an unusually wide stair. So you couldn't really help that handle. And they were really old. They were starting to sag. we figured they were probably nearly as old as the house, and this house was built in 81, so it's hard to tell how long they'd actually been there. Anyway, we decided they really, really need replaced. They're a financial liability because if someone gets hurt on them, they could sue us, right? Not to mention, I was regularly going in through the garage rather than ever going up my front steps because I absolutely hated going up those steps. Wow, so you might be hearing thunder. We're having a thunderstorm right now. I don't know if my mic will pick it up, but it's kind of pleasant. I don't even think it's an aggressive one for once, so I kind of love the sound of thunder as long as there's not a risk of tornadoes. Anyway, front porch steps. Those steps were just terrible. I was avoiding using them, and that just wasn't good. So after we moved in here, we had a little bit extra money to throw into making some repairs and stuff at the time. And we're like, we really need to call a contractor. So we kept calling. We kept trying for handymans first. Couldn't get anybody to call us back. My husband called and emailed so many people. He tried some websites that are dedicated just for finding people in the trades. Could not get anybody to call back, and only a couple that did. Then maybe they communicated once and then didn't communicate anymore. One guy came out, gave us a quote, and we paid him $25 for his trip to come quote it. And he seemed extremely unsure of the things that we were looking at having done. We have a bridge on the back of our property, and we were kind of wanting that checked to make sure it was all right, because at the time it was feeling unstable. We've come to realize it's frost and fall cycles was kind of affecting it. The bridge seems okay for now, but those front porch steps, we really wanted somebody to rebuild them, and he didn't even seem confident of that. So we're like, well, what do we do? We're like, we can upgrade to an actual contractor. We'd already heard nearly all of those nearby had wait lists of many months, probably at least weeks. And we're like, what do we do? And not to mention, a contractor was going to cost probably $2,000-3,000 to get just a very small set of steps done. So we're like, I started doing my little research thing that I like to do, and we figured out for about $1,000 in tool investment, and it actually was less, and the cost of the wood, if we took it slowly and patiently and ripped out the old steps and put in some new ones, and it wasn't exactly complicated cuts. You can get the stair stringers even pre-cut for you, and there was a pre-cut size. I didn't even have to do that. It was already perfect for the height of our porch. It was not that big of a deal. Oh, excuse me, my nose is itchy, my allergies. It was not a big deal with the pre-cut stringer. I was able to rebuild those things, and it was less than $1,000. I think all in all, for the tools at the time and the wood, it was right at about $850 or something like that. And that was with wood costs already starting to get out of control, because this was in fall of 2020. So we had to really overpay for the wood. So even with that, we still came by a lot less, and it really wasn't that bad. My husband helped tear out the old ones. I don't think I could have done that by myself. He tried to let me do my thing and tackle the project, but that particular thing I definitely needed the manpower because I didn't have the physical strength. The problem that I ran into with them was they had been based on old railroad ties that had been driven together with rebar. Who does that? Anyway, getting through that rebar took a lot of crowbar strength, and the reciprocating saws had to cut through the metal and stuff like that. But that took a lot of strength. My son helped with it all too. I don't think I could have got my project done without my guys, but I appreciate that I got to tackle and plan that and then rebuild, and now we have a good functioning set of stairs with a normal rise and two wonderful railings up the side to kind of help you keep you safe, and it looks a lot nicer too. So anyway, that's a case in point, my best description of why tools is probably going to be cheaper than hiring help, so consider that. And now what do we have? We have a garage that has a lot of extra tools, and since then we've invested in even more tools. So our garage is getting pretty good with tools now, and we can accomplish and tackle a lot of things on our own. So invest in tools, and in the long term you will save money doing things yourself, and you get the personal satisfaction of it. Okay, I know those were not anywhere near the kitchen, and a lot of people are kind of looking at more toward the kitchen here. But seriously, tools are your friend. The next one does go back to kitchen-based things, and this is limit meal timing. Part of this tip came about because dietary-wise, where I tend to lean toward a keto diet, though I'm totally off the wagon right now. Don't judge me there. We'll deal with that later. Limit meal timing. A lot of keto people also do something called intermittent fasting. I think this can be a budget saving tip too. Intermittent fasting, I think, is a good thing to do. It's basically spacing your meals and maybe eating in a shorter window of time. Some people do this for dietary purposes, and some people just plain do this as a matter of life. Growing up, we usually would have that 3 meal a day, and then after dinner, you just didn't go back to the kitchen as much. And then as I got older, that kind of, you did more so. But in that early era, I think people didn't go run to the kitchen for the snacks all hours of the day, especially late at night, as frequently as we do now. And I don't think that's a good thing, and it's not really helping our population weight-wise. I think limiting the meal timing, closing the kitchen after dinner is probably a better idea. Now, I am the first to admit I am not implementing this good right now. I try to hold the kids back on snacking all day long. I don't mind them having a snack, but it's like you don't really need a snack all the time in between everything, and then 3 or 4 of them. It gets crazy, and then it creates a food waste because they may get a snack out and then leave 25% of it, and then that added up ends up to be a lot of waste if that's done each time. So this is something I'm working toward doing better and encouraging my children to, have your 3 meals, eat them well, eat the nutritious things. If you have a snack after dinner, that's fine, but don't make it too late, and then don't just keep at it and keep going for another and another. Both of my kids are thin, healthy kids, thank God, but in the same turn, they do kind of eat like a cat, that little grazing. At least my daughter especially, she likes to do the cat method, just a little bit at a time. My son just tends to forget things because he gets really focused on, his time on the computer and things like that. So anyway, they both will have oddball hours and times and so forth, but thank goodness they're healthy. So in general, I think limiting the timing of your meals, closing the kitchen after dinner is something that you can implement toward saving and pulling back on that budget. At very least, having a good plan for it, plan that meal, and after that, then don't keep grazing like it is an indefinite resource that's never going to potentially be less, because right now a lot of us are pulling back. So anyway, on to the next one. Set up for success in kitchen efficiency to be able to cook. So this is an organizational tip in your kitchen, and the reason why it's also a saving tip is the more efficient you are, the more likely you are to cook. So go through your kitchen and make your stations. Maybe make a baking station, a vegetable cutting station, or whatever. Do things like if you're unloading your dishwasher, I'm looking toward my kitchen as I'm thinking, are your cups and the things that you most frequently use near your dishwasher? So that's what I've tried to do in my kitchen. I have over to the right of my stove, that's my baking area or mixing area where all the core baking ingredients are. Spices are there to the right of my stove. And then as I go around my kitchen, I have an area right beside my sink for cutting veggies and things like that. My knife block is right beside my cutting board. Then I go over to the left of the sink where the dishwasher is, and then that's where all the main heavily used dishes are. So you can literally stand at the dishwasher and then rapid fire unload. So think about efficiency, and the more efficient you are, the more you will cook, the less intimidating it will be. Because if you're constantly running across your kitchen and you have no efficiency, it gets more messy, it takes more time, and that's much more dread. So think about efficiencies, and maybe cooking won't be as intimidating. I think I probably briefly gave this tip the other day, but I have it on my list, is to reuse green onions. Some veggies from the grocery store, you may buy them, and then after you cut the tops off, you can totally plop them in some water and regrow them. People show that with celery. I don't have much success with that, but I have had a great success with green onions. I can usually get at least 1, if not 2 more growings off of it. I think there was once I might even got toward a third one. You can also take them and replant them in your yard and get a lot more growings off of them. They will do far, far better like in a pot on your patio or in your yard. But if you don't have anything and you just have a little windowsill, pop them in some water. It is completely free extra food. Don't go browsing shopping. How many of us do this? And I don't even like to go out to stores and shop very much, but I can still totally do that online. If I'm on there and I'm loading a grocery cart, I kind of have to be aware that what I'm doing. I have to be intentional and purposeful following a list, because it's really, really easy for my squirrel brain to start going off rabbit trailing, especially when I see an ad for some, oh yeah, we did kind of need that, or oh yeah, I was thinking about getting that particular thing for the house. And the next thing you know, you got a bunch of extra things in your cart that you don't really truly need right now. Is so frequent that I find, like when I'm adjusting a cart for maybe an online order, or it's not uncommon for me to go online, build a cart, see how much things are going to cost, and then maybe even go and pick that up manually. But I will adjust that cart like so many times, taking things in and taking them out and going, nah, I don't want to spend that this week, so I better this is not really a need. I'm going to take that out right now. I would rather put that money into meat or whatever. But be thoughtful of your browsing, whether it's online or in store. Certainly in-store shopping and window shopping and all those things can add up and cause you to be dripped up and spend where you don't need to right now. So if you do have something that you're thinking about buying, try to maybe give it a day at least, if not a week or something, to sleep on it and think about it. Do I really need this? Will I really, really want this in a week or a month from now even? Because I don't know how many times I thought, I bought this, and then 2 or 3 weeks later, it's like, yeah, I really didn't need it. It's not that important. And I'm not even that big of a shopper, and I do that. So I figure if I'm not that big of a shopper and I do that, how much more so do other people struggle with that? I imagine a lot. So limit your browsing and your window shopping. Next tip, library, Hoopla, Libby. Use your library. Even if you don't like to go into your library, the Hoopla and Libby, those are basically little apps that you can use your library card through. Ooh, big lightning. That was a loud one. That's going to get the kids up. So anyway, those apps will let you download lots of audiobooks, and now they're even doing like video on Hoopla. So that's a lot of free stuff. So instead of buying or renting things maybe on Amazon Prime or whatever you're using, Netflix, we dropped them. I don't want anything to do with them right now. But instead of buying, renting, or whatever, then use Hoopla or Libby. You can get a lot on there for free, especially if you're an audiobook user. Audiobooks are great because you can multitask and do things while you listen. Really, really like those. The dyslexic thing going on in our family with both of my kids being very dyslexic has made me open up toward the idea of audiobooks in a way that I never did before. So let's see. Be careful of pet investments. Yeah. So we have 5 cats, as some of you know, and that was a big commitment. We knew it would be big, but yet in the same turn, it feels bigger than you know. When you go to consider, do I want a new pet? Consider, of course, veterinary care, the cost for the pet initially, the cost to feed the pet, and ongoing other costs, like in our case with the cats, and litter. Litter really adds up. Various other things. And then most pets have the potential for some kind of damage. We've had, of course, being cats, they like to claw and scratch, so some things take a hit. So consider all of the costs of a pet before you really commit. We have our 5 cats, and we would probably really do better if we kind of kept it to about 3 instead of 5, because it feels like a little bit too much. We're committed now. We love the little stinkers. They're not going anywhere. But in the same turn, think about the commitment. When we do our food preps, we try to prep for them too. So when you bring in a pet, then realize that you are making a commitment to prepare for them too. So think about that before you act, and then figure out what is best for your family. All right, so I think that's all the tips I'm going to give for today. I only got about halfway through the page, so there will still be more videos to come. Thank you guys, and if you like this, please give me the thumbs up, subscribe if you want to. Please leave your tips. So far, no one's hardly leaving them. I know YouTube has my videos kind of down in the algorithm. I can tell from my analytics, so by all means, please leave me comments if you will, but it also helps other people, and that's the really important reason why to do so. So, hope you guys have a blessed day.